Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Howard Cross.
They all know you as Giselle, you and Tom Brady. Good afternoon, tonight, good. It's been a long day, sorry. How's everybody doing? You enjoying that food? Yeah, they stopped me from eating mine. Never stop a fat guy from eating, so I'm gonna get done really quick here. Tonight I get a chance to introduce Giselle. She's the CEO, is that right? President, where you going? She has to get her glasses, okay? It's a very funny story that I could tell you about her, but there are kids here, so I'm gonna keep it to a minimum. She is a very great lady. She's a lot of fun. She's married to Tom Brady. Usually in the Angels display, she does the angel bra thing. I don't want to talk about that too much. Isn't that Victoria's Secret? But tonight, she's with us as the CEO of the Mental Health Association of New York City. Giselle, please take the stage. Thank you very much. Your staff is like dying. Look at them laughing at you.
They're all laughing at me. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I got to bring this down here. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Now that I'm thoroughly embarrassed. Thank you, Howard. It's not true. Let me just say that. Now I have to get serious after that. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm privileged and proud to serve as the head of the Mental Health Association since 1990. And as I go through my remarks, you'll figure out how old I am by the end, but I'm not going to tell you now. MHA-NYC has become the dynamic and impactful organization it is today, thanks to a talented and generous board, dedicated staff, strong government partners, and the support of people like you here tonight who have allowed us to take our cause and make it yours. Of course, with friends, or I used to think Howard was my friend, with friends like Howard Cross, how could an evening like this be anything but a success and a lot of fun? Most of you think of Howard as a champion on the football field, but seriously, not joking, I've come to know him as a champion for people in need. He really is a special person with a kind heart. So, before I continue on, please join me in a big round of applause for our MC, the amazing Howard Cross, who has a heart of gold. Howard, I'm being nice to you. I'd be remiss not to also thank the event planning co-chairs, Sherry Danahy and Diana Gaines. I know Kevin thanked them earlier, but they both worked so hard on this event and had unwavering enthusiasm no matter what. They were there. They were my cheerleaders, and without them, tonight would not have been possible. I also must recognize a very special person. Many of you in this room will recognize her name. Some of you may not. The amazing Roz Nestor. Roz, wherever you are, you hear that, that's for you. Roz Nestor goes above and beyond every day and is truly the nerve center of all MHA operations. Nothing happens without Roz. Thank you, Roz. Wherever you are, I can't see you, but thank you. Thank you for all that you have done to make this event a success, and thank you for everything you do throughout the year. Even before coming to MHA-NYC, I worked in New York's mental health system for many years. That's a hint. And as I look around this room, I see a number of friends and colleagues who all began around the same time. Idealistic kids we were, out to improve and expand a mental health care system to be able to help more people. Some might even say that I've been working in the mental health field since I was a kid. Growing up with a mother with bipolar disorder gave me early insight into the challenges of living with mental illness and the importance of a mental health system that works. I still remember the frustration of not being able to get my mother the help she needed, and the sadness I felt when she died, hearing the same voices she had heard for decades. Years later, when mental illness once again entered my family's life, I experienced firsthand a very different mental health system, one that was more humane, one that was more respectful to individuals and families, and one that offered many more options for care and treatment. I was able to call 800-LifeNet 24/7 or go on lifenet.org and find resources that my family needed. And I was able to walk into one of MHA's family resource centers where family advocates who had gone through what I was going through at that time helped guide and support the difficult decisions I had to make during what were some of the darkest moments of my life. We've come far since the early experiences that I had with my mother, but we still have far to go. And that's why the advocacy and the systems policy work of the Mental Health Association of New York City is so important, and why each and every program and service that you learn about that MHA-NYC provides is so near and dear to my heart. That's my personal story. I've never told it before 400 people, I have to say, and it's a little bit of a difficult experience, but thank you for listening. Thank you. But we're here tonight for a very specific reason, to shed light on the mental health needs of our military veterans. Joining us this evening toward that goal is a gentleman whose distinguished career is devoted to easing the challenges facing our nation's veterans, including their health and psychological well-being. I'm referring to our esteemed guest, Secretary Eric K. Shinseki. A 1965 graduate of West Point, Secretary Shinseki completed 38 years of uniformed service in the U.S. Army, including 2 combat tours in the Republic of Vietnam and service as the Army's Chief of Staff from 1999 to 2003. Secretary Shinseki became the 7th Secretary of Veterans Affairs on January 21st, 2009. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to invite Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Eric K. Shinseki, to the podium.
Giselle, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for inviting me here this evening. Good evening, everyone. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and most especially Ken Fisher and his beautiful family seated here at table 15, the Fisher family. And all the great folks from the Fisher House Foundation. I'm greatly honored to be here, and my purpose is very simple, and that's to call Ken to the stage. It's a great honor for me to be able to recognize Ken and his family for their dedication to the men and women who safeguard our nation, safeguard it today, and those who have performed those duties in years past, like the men who stormed the shore at Normandy 69 years ago today. Combat, thank you. Combat demands courage. We know that. But bearing the burdens of combat in the aftermath of war also takes courage. Thanks to advances in battlefield medicine and a world-class military medical evacuation system, more troops are surviving combat today. Some with catastrophic injuries requiring prolonged hospitalization, months and years of surgery, pain, recovery, uncertainty. Any loss of hope can be challenging, and their refusal to give up is both a statement of courage and a profound statement of who they are. I am so proud of these veterans. Now, for 6 years, VA has collaborated with the Mental Health Association of New York's Linked to Health Solutions, that program, to manage our Veterans Crisis Line, which was mentioned earlier. The crisis line has answered over 800,000 calls and responded to over 100,000 chats and texts, neither of which I do, from veterans in need. Most importantly, 29,000 of those callers were rescued from suicides in progress because we were there to help. And so congratulations as well to the Mental Health Association of New York for its many initiatives over many years to care for our veterans of every great generation, especially those who today have fought in Iraq and are still fighting in Afghanistan. Now, because of our work, President Obama's budget requests over the last 4 years or so, 2009 to 2014, increased mental health funding for VA by nearly 57%. And just this past Monday, the President hosted a National Mental Health Summit at the White House to focus on the need to work together to demystify the issues surrounding mental health, and especially overcoming the stigma associated with treatment. As a result, VA is partnering at the local level through 24 pilot projects with federally qualified community clinics in 9 states. We will host local mental health summits at each of our 152 medical centers, broadening this dialogue between clinicians and stakeholders. And we've also hired over 1,600 additional mental health clinical professionals, as outlined in the President's executive order of last August. Let us use these resources and opportunities wisely to address the mental health needs, and especially to dispel this stigma surrounding treatment. But we can't do it all on our own, and none of us can, and that's why this collaboration and an evening like this is so important. And this is why the Fisher House Foundation is so key to what we are able to do at VA. You will find few more aware of the needs of our wounded warriors, our veterans, their families, and our survivors than Ken Fisher. The Fisher House Foundation, which he leads, provides free or low-cost lodging to veterans and military families at military and veteran medical centers, VA medical centers, all across the country. It has saved them over $200 million in food and lodging and transportation since 1990. There are currently 60 Fisher Houses in operation, serving over 700 families daily. And remarkably, Ken and the Fisher House Foundation give these houses to the government as gifts. The foundation also administers the Heroes Miles program and the Heroes Legacy Scholarship program to help veterans and the families of those service members who have died or been severely injured since 9/11. And so, Ken, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your generosity and the generosity of the Fisher family and the foundation, and for your unwavering advocacy for all who serve and have served the nation in uniform, and their families, and our survivors. On behalf of them all and all the great men and women at military and DOD and VA medical centers, I'm honored to present you with this award this evening. As you come up, I'll read the inscription. It reads, "The Mental Health Association New York City honors Ken Fisher and his family for their commitment to the well-being of our nation's veterans. June 6, 2013.
Thank you. Before I begin, let me tell you what a real honor it is to be introduced by Secretary Rick Shinseki. He has been a strong and effective leader for the VA during an extremely challenging period in its history. So I thank you for being here tonight, and I thank you for your ongoing service to this nation. I want to thank dinner chairman Rick Clark and Bruce Mosler, my co-chairman of the Intrepid, for putting this evening together. They represent all that is good with our city's real estate industry and its long tradition of giving back to community. I also want to recognize a remarkable woman, my wife Tammy, who is the reason I stand here tonight, as well as for being the manager of the most important Fisher House of all, my own. Tammy, stand up, please. My daughters, Crystal and Brittany, who along with their brother Josh, I hope one day will continue this legacy of caring. To my future son-in-law, Ari, who joins us on his birthday this evening. Happy birthday, Ari. And the other members of my family, my mother, Jack, my sister-in-law, Trin, thank you for being here. And Noah, there you are. Thanks to our vice chairs, Frank Branchini, Scott Cutler, Kevin Danahy, and Cynthia Zarinsky. And of course, my TV partner and tonight's MC, Howard Cross, for being such a great host. Thank you. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight. and for supporting this important effort on behalf of our veterans. For me and my family, those here and not, this award symbolizes all that we do as a nation to honor and assist our veterans. My Uncle Zachary used to call our men and women in uniform our greatest national treasure. He was right. Our armed services do this for this nation, what the rest of us, quite frankly, prefer not to do. This 1% leave their families and go into harm's way willingly to protect this nation's security. They sacrifice, they bleed, and they sometimes die to protect the freedoms that we too often take for granted in this nation. So in honoring me and my family, you honor them as well. And for the veterans that are with us tonight, we say thank you for your service as well. But as I have said too often, thank you for your service is not enough anymore. We all need to do more. And I think it needs to start right here, tonight, in this room, in this great city that knows firsthand the horrors of these terrorist acts. Our veterans need our help, and they need it desperately. Not in a month, not in a year, or whenever they eventually come looking for it. They need our help right now. More than 2.5 million members of our armed services have been deployed in the Iraq and Afghan wars over the past 12 years. With the end of these conflicts, we find ourselves in the midst of the largest homecoming of American troops since the Vietnam War. This should be cause for celebration. America's best and bravest are returning to their loved ones, to their children, and to their hometowns. Our nation's arms should be wide open, welcoming our troops back and offering anything we can to help them re-enter civilian life. But for many, I believe we're falling short. Jobs for veterans remain scarce even as our economy slowly improves. Our culture seems more focused on reality television than on our service to fellow Americans. And few people can even say they know someone who was deployed or was involved in serving this nation in some way over the last decade. Our government continues to be hopelessly gridlocked, controlling costs with across-the-board cuts and sequestration. And our veterans remain frustrated by backlogs as they apply for benefits and medical care. So I think it's safe to say that the process of re-entering, readjusting, and functioning within modern American society is daunting for these new veterans, to say the least. Add to these the hurdles, the injuries that are caused by war, the amputations, the burns, and the invisible wounds, traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress, and you only begin to scratch the surface of the enormous burdens our veterans bear and the daily challenges they face: unemployment, homelessness, substance and alcohol abuse, depression. These are all issues that plague the veterans community. They need somewhere to turn where they can find reassurance, guidance, and help. We need to be that resource. Earlier this week, I was invited to the White House by President Obama to attend a gathering that sought to address mental health issues and how they plague American society. I saw Secretary Shinseki there. I happened upon a reverend from Louisiana, and we stood in the back of the room together and spoke about what he witnesses firsthand in his community. He told me his biggest worry that one day a veteran, having sought help and thinking he had nowhere else to go, walks into his packed church on Sunday morning and does the unthinkable. "What can I do?" the Reverend asked me. "All I can do right now is tell that man to pray and to have faith." Now, I believe in the power of prayer, but just telling a man to pray is just not an adequate answer to this problem. Not when a veteran who has served this nation is on the verge of violence against himself or others, and not when there is more that we can do to help him. We must do more because we are able to do more. Last year, 8,000 veterans committed suicide in this country. 350 of them were active duty military. These are men and women of honor. They carried our flag into battle. They defended our freedom and our security. They did this willingly, and they volunteered. We owe them more than this. These veterans are the successors to the great generations that have worn the uniform before them. Those who stormed the beaches in Normandy in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam, and in our other conflicts, which together have created the country that we know today. This new generation of veterans has enormous potential, and we would be wise to tap into their energy, their courage, their skill, and their leadership to drive our nation forward at a time when we need it the most. Secretary Shinseki knows this, and I think he would agree that the VA, and in fact the federal government as a whole, can't do this alone. We all need to be engaged by helping to point the way forward and by providing pathways to care for those who need our assistance. This means the business sector, charitable organizations, faith-based groups, healthcare providers, and veteran support groups. We all need to pitch in to help these people who only need to be pointed in the right direction. These can't be just words. We must all work together as a first line of defense in the protection and the well-being of these veterans and their families. If not, our veterans will be the collateral damage of wounds unseen because we chose to look the other way. Our family has chosen to help veterans in the best way we know how, by building facilities and gifting them to the government, which in turn operates, staff, and maintain them in perpetuity. The Fisher House Foundation builds these comfort homes to provide free temporary lodging to military and veteran families, allowing them to be near a loved one at military hospitals or VA medical centers. What we know at Fisher House Foundation is that these public-private partnerships like ours work. My Uncle Zachary realized this when he built the first Fisher House more than 20 years ago. Today, we actually have 62 Fisher Houses located on 23 military installations and 22 VA medical centers around the world, including Germany. Over the last 20 years, we've helped 180,000 total guest families, provided them over 5 million nights of lodging, and as you heard Secretary Shinseki tell you, we've saved them more than $200 million in associated lodging and travel expenses. And 2 weeks from now, we will open our first Fisher House to serve our allies in the United Kingdom, built in partnership with two of their foundations, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital Trust in Birmingham and Help for Heroes, that will serve the British military and their families in the same way we have served our American heroes and their families. Public-private partnerships like these do work because we can save the government money and provide a service that addresses an urgent and an unmet need. But this is just a start in caring for our veterans. We have to address how to get them access to critical mental health programs that will ultimately make their difference in their lives. First, we need to educate our veterans, their families, and their communities. We need to help them understand the signs of mental illness and trauma. We need to let them know where they can get the help, not just at the Central VA, but at their regional medical centers and their clinics. The VSOs, the Veteran Service Organizations, must be partners in showing vets where they can find care. And we must promise our veterans, and our active duty military that there is no shame, that there is no weakness in raising their hand and saying, "I need help." And then we have to keep that promise. Second, we must expand access to these services. Facilities like the National Intrepid Center for Excellence in Bethesda, Maryland, which was built by my father, Arnold Fisher, and the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, are essential in getting help to these men and women. Regional healthcare centers must act as a conduit for veterans seeking care. Faith-based organizations like that church in Louisiana have to play a role in helping veterans find the services they've got to have. They need to know there are places they can go and get help. Third, we've got to provide the best in treatment for those who seek it and seek out those who need it. A recent study cited the Department of Defense's challenges in hiring qualified doctors and clinicians who can provide the one-to-one medical diagnosis and treatment needed to truly make this difference. This has to change. We need more medical professionals. We need them to step forward. We need to make them more available to our veterans and service members to identify solutions for TBI and PTS the minute the symptoms start to appear. And we need to let our returning veterans know where they can seek this treatment and then follow them long after they return home. We cannot wait until a veteran calls a suicide prevention hotline, because by then it might be too late. If you doubt any of this, let me caution you that we are only now just coming to understand what traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress can do to a person who has been injured. Someone who has had their brain rattled by an IED explosion, or has been in close proximity to that blast, or seen a fellow soldier catastrophically wounded, are the horrors these men and women live with every single day. 8,000 veterans committed suicide last year. Left unchecked, how high will that number go? How high will we be willing to let that number grow? We owe our veterans a debt of gratitude this nation will never be able to repay. And it has been my great honor to meet these men and women and their families as we do all we can to ease their burdens here at home. They are heroes. They are patriots. They are brave beyond comprehension, yet unassuming and stalwart. I have seen their determination. I've seen their toughness and their incredible generosity and compassion for their brothers and sisters. But it is now up to us to make sure that they have the tools and the support they need to reclaim their lives. We must stop viewing mental health issues of our veterans as a problem and start seeing it for what it is, a priority. These are challenges that this nation must rise and meet. It's a job that will be incredibly rewarding and extremely important for our nation, for our children, and for the generations to follow. 8,000 veterans committed suicide last year. This can't go on.